Hello, welcome back. We have left here in Paris, in front of Maison La Roche, Villa La Roche. It's a twin villa, actually. We are in front of that. Um, and bear in mind that this is the 1920s. Just like in the case of Adolf Loos that we have talked about. This is a very whimsical architecture, a very whimsical building for the 1920s. We are in an urban context, and we are looking at the building. This is called Maison La Villa, double villas. But something is going on here. I mean, we don't have a facade flanking the street. We don't, well, and most importantly, I mean, we don't really see a gate, a door that, you know, conventional architectural element. If you think about like medieval architecture, you know, touch couple, those gates that reveals the entrance to buildings, to architectures. Here, we don't see a gate like that. We don't see a facade in front of the street. What do we see instead? We see a kind of a short private cul-de-sac, private road, a driveway. And what does that mean? It means that we arrive by car. So that is the main thing. We should remember that at the beginning of the 20th century, car technology was a cutting edge technology. Architects were fascinated by that. So here we see that, you know, I mean, we have talked about metropolitan modern life, and that of course included transportation by car. So here we have an urban building that has, that is designed for arriving by car, and it has a place for the cars to enter. It has a driveway. Other than that, what do we see? I mean, we again see very simple, quite aesthetic, exteriors. We don't see like any embellishment, any ornament. We just see openings, and that can take different shapes, but mostly they are kind of horizontal, elongated openings. Here you see kind of like the horizontal window that we talked about earlier, that quintessential modern intervention, modern form that Le Corbusier developed, horizontal, longitudinal window. We have glazed surfaces, but it is very, very, simple. It's very plain, the facades. I mean, we shouldn't even perhaps call them facade, but the exterior. Here, we don't really understand it that much, but this part, this mass at the very back, behind the driveway, is actually kind of a curved mass, and it is bulging out. So it's like, it is not really perhaps very welcoming. It's not very open to the metropolis, to the modern life, and that makes sense, because I mean, there is of course a certain kind of anxiety about the metropolitan modern life, as we have seen in the case of Adolf Loos, where you wouldn't look at outside the window, but just, the house operated like a shelter cover for you from the metropolitan life. Here as well, I mean, it's not really opening itself to the outside. And when you enter here, you arrive by car, and you don't really even know where to enter the interior. Here there are two small doors that you see, but they are not very welcoming either. And then there is a fence here. If we, approach to the mass at the end, here you can see better that it is a curved mass, which hides a ramp behind. Remember, I have talked about architectural promenade and ramps that Le Corbusier used in his architecture. Behind this, there is a ramp, and that space, it's kind of a high, like 2-floor high space, was used for the exhibiting of the artwork of the family Laroche, that the very wealthy, famous, drug company Laroche. Here we see a small kind of balcony jutting out again. The possibilities, potentialities of reinforced concrete is here again. We see that, and then of course this part which is kind of a which works like a huge span here, without really anything below. Like this part is raised above the ground, something that Le Corbusier liked. And then we see the entrance here, like this small door, and then there is a huge glazed part on top of the door. It's kind of it's not like exactly like Mises glasses glazed walls, but still it is a big glazed surface just above the entrance. Today this house works as Le Corbusier's foundation, Fondation Le Corbusier, where you can find all the archives of a lot of material about Le Corbusier house. There you can go there to do research. So we arrive up to this point, and then we will enter through this door, and we will see the interior later. And this is the other part, the other villa that it's like kind of attached to Maison Laroche, the other villa that he did for his brother, for Le Corbusier's brother. Again, I mean, here we can see the horizontal windows better, like this elongated windows. Le Corbusier had a whole theory behind the discovery, let's say, by him of a horizontal window. He would say that, and he would use like posometers and whatnot in order to prove that actually horizontal window takes more light than a conventional straight window. So he was very much a kind of an advocate of a horizontal window. And this is also these kinds of like shed-like elongated horizontal windows also gives us the chance to experience the outside as in a film. So you have all these different film carré-like views coming one after the other. Okay, so this is like we have to imagine that this kind of appearance, this very plain, very simplified, unadorned appearance was quite new, quite spectacular back then. So this is another view, taking also showing the big glazed part above the entrance with the bulging masses, a little piece of that showing itself here as well. And you see, all those, the urban environment here. Okay, this is this is a better view of the entrance with with the window and the kind of a gallery space, and we see all these different levels. And that is the thing about Le Corbusier's architecture. It has all these different, platforms. You go from one platform to the other, then you go up to the roof, and then you can do a whole loop. It is it's an architecture that, induces in you the feeling of moving. You go from one space to the other, and you actually experience, you see these different vistas when you are on the move. And we have seen in Adolf Loos's architecture that that architecture has all those different split levels, different theater box-like units looking at each other, but they were more static. I mean, in the sense that you have in a Loos house is that you are like, you are sitting in these very comfortable cushion-filled spaces, turning your back to the outside. But in a Le Corbusier building, you are always on the move. You are walking, going from one ramp to the other. So this is where we enter. Okay, I'm showing you, a more closer view of the horizontal window with plants coming from the top, the ideal roof garden. Remember that, taking the nature on top of the building that we have talked about. And also this is like, if you look at the surface, the facade, it's like, it's very light. I mean, we have talked about the issue of lightness versus monumentality in relation to futurism. Remember here, it's like, you have like a very filmy appearance. Okay, another view of the ramp from the outside. We couldn't enter yet, but we also have the chance to see the surrounding, the other buildings, the apartment buildings of the area here. It's a good example of raising the building above the ground. With here, you have two columns, and then taking light from these kind of top openings, top windows, like kafa pencereleri in conventional vernacular architecture. And here is the entrance. I mean, not the entrance, sorry. Here is the interior of the gallery space that we have been looking from the outside, and the ramp is here. You see, it's really, oh, sorry about this. It's really humongous. You take light from here, and then the artwork is being always on display. These are Corbusier's own paintings, as far as I remember, as it is the foundation that bring together Le Corbusier's work. I already mentioned that he was also a painter, graphic artist as well. So this is the top part of the exhibition space with the ramp. Okay, finally, we are seeing the entrance from the interior. This is the door that we entered, and then there is a gallery above it with the glazed huge window on top of the door. And then you see there are all these different levels. Here you see kind of a jutting out balcony-like space, and then there is another level here. So there are all these different layers within the enclosed building space. And this is Le Corbusier himself, and then they put the painting here as well. Yeah, another view. It's like all these, different platforms, different balcony-like spaces looking within the building itself. Okay, another view from one top above. So it's like, it's really in terms of the interior space articulation, volume articulation, it's really very, very sophisticated, although the outside is quite plain, it looks quite dumb. No, there is not much really going on apart from the openings from the window, but the interior in terms of, different spatial experiences like galleries, platforms, different levels, split levels, being able to see from one point to the other, and being able to go through the whole building and go to the terrace. All these are possible. So giving you the chance to have these very rich spatial, visual experiences. So that was the urban context, because just like Adolphe Loos, for Le Corbusier as well, the metropolitan life, the modern life, has all these kind of anxieties. So it is like it's kind of the buildings turn their way, they're back to the city, to the metropolis, in order to provide this experience, the inner experience to the inhabitants. But if you are not in a metropolis, if you are in a rural area, the architecture changes, as opposed to Maison Laroche, where it's like kind of it closes down into its own little driveway. It's like there are openings to the driveway, but it's not really, they are not openings to the city. It's not like really looking at the city. It's not open to the city in that way. But if you are in a rural context, if it is not a metropolitan site that we are talking about, then you have something like this. And this is, of course, as you all know and recognize immediately, I'm sure, is the famous Villa Savoy, which is outside in Poissy, which is outside Paris. And here, what do we have is actually we have this perfect geometrical, like, you know, kind of rectangular form, which operates like a platform to view, which operates like, you know, a device to frame the outside. And here it is very obvious that all these openings, looking, you know, from every side, looking outside to the, you know, to the nature, you know, it's like very different attitude than the earlier building that we have seen, the case of Maison La Roche. Here it is like it is framing the outside. Before it was more like interior. You know, there were all these different platforms to view the interior from different points. Here it is framing the outside, and that is a very important term for this building, particularly like framing. All these windows are, you know, kind of frame and make the outside kind of a, you know, picture, like through their, you know, framing. And before we pass to other things, perhaps we can also here remember the 5 points of architecture that Le Corbusier was promoting. Here is a very good example, of course. I mean, remember the idea of raising the building above the ground, above the nature, through by means of pilotis. Here they are, we see like real filmy, very aesthetical. It's kind of, this is very, very aesthetic, very simplified for its time, but of course in time it has become, you know, it has developed, it has become kind of an aesthetic thing. So there is that pilotis. We do not really perhaps see it that much from here, but of course there is the free facade. So the, you know, the facade is actually kind of separate from the structure, from the columns, and we will see that it is also valid for plan as well, free plan. And of course, roof garden here. We have the you know, roof garden. Did I cover all of them? Pilotis, roof garden. Okay. Free plan, free facade, and then of course the horizontal window that I have been talking about. So 5 points of architecture for Le Corbusier is very much embodied by Villa Savoy. Okay, so well, this is the you know, the ground floor with the, you know, staircase. We see the columns here and a glazed part here. Okay, and now we go to the first floor and the living area. Here we can understand the free facade easily. You see, we have columns, we have structure here, and then we have the, you know, the facade here as well. And we see the structure is separate than what closes the building in terms of, like, you know, the facade surfaces, the exterior. It's, you see, it's quite simple interior, quite aesthetic as well. But then all these elongated horizontal windows kind of providing a, you know, film-like experience. You know, you see something here and then here, and if, for instance, if there was a a lake here and the boat on the lake, the boat would go from here to here and here. It's like, you know, it would, the feeling would have been like watching a film. Okay, all right, now we are outside. And the interesting thing is, of course, the framing goes on the outside as well. You see here, like, you know, they are not like normal windows with glass, but still, you know, even outside, the framing of the vista, the framing of the outside appearance are going on. And here it's part of like, you know, kind of two-level roof garden. And here we see like, you know, patches of nature here and there. So it's like, you know, we talked about, you know, how the nature could be taken on top of the building. And here we see that, the roof garden. So that is an attitude towards the nature, raising the building above the ground and then taking nature on top of the building. And then we sense the beginning of the ramp here that finishes with solarium. Of course, this is also a time, we haven't watched that film, but well, in the film that we have watched, in the New Dwelling, we have seen images like that. This was a time they were, you know, architects, well, the whole world were very much into like, you know, hygiene, healthy lifestyles and sports. So they would build like these ramps, and things were, you know, also used as some kind of, you know, sports instruments. So at the end, you also have, you know, solarium. So it's like, you know, the sun was considered, you know, healthy. So you have a solarium on the top of the building. You can, you know, run on top of your building. You can go to, you know, these different levels. You can sunbath, and it's like, it's healthy, it's good for you. You are doing your exercise. All those kinds of things were very much in the air. They were using those ideas. If you remember the film, The New Dwelling, there were scenes of like, you know, these the swimming clubs, the you know, the clubs for sports. Towards the end, they have shown those. So the idea of healthy body, you know, hygienic spaces, healthy bodies, doing exercise and sunbathing and outside and nature, all those were in the air very much. If we want to go back to architectural elements, here, for instance, we see something similar to what Mies does. No, it's like a glazed, huge facade surface, but it looks actually down onto the roof garden, not to the garden itself, but to the roof garden. Here we can see the ramp better. You see, it's like, you know, it's like two-level ramp going towards the, you know, at the second level. This is like, this is where you sunbath. And the living area that we have seen with the windows, and then here it is much better seen that, you know, the elongated horizontal windows are kind of going on, you know, here, continuing. They are not windows anymore. They are just, you know, openings. But, you know, on the roof garden as well, we see the columns and, you know, the outside facades separate from the structure. So look at this. I mean, starting from an idea of like, purism, simplification types, and, adornment, all those, like machine aesthetics, engineers aesthetics, all those kinds of things. But eventually, when you, look at the spaces that were created, they are so rich. I mean, you have so many different types of spaces. You have this wonderful living area. Here we have these, film-like horizontal windows. Then we have a huge glazed surface that opens onto the nature on the top, to the roof garden. Then we have these openings. This is kind of an open space. This is kind of a closed space with so much, possibility of, seeing the outside. And then we have a ramp, and this creates a different type of space. No? And here we have another one. So all these different half closed, totally closed, translucent, opaque, all these kinds of, different types of spaces and experiences are created within the building here. Okay, so we see the ramp here, and then look at this. I mean, these are the elongated openings, and then at the end you have kind of an A1 here, where the top is closed. You have windows here, but then it is not a completely closed space. So all these different types of space create spaces, create such a rich, sophisticated environment. Perhaps at one point we may watch that film where a woman walks on this ramp, and then in another, in a house that we are not seeing today, in the house in Garches, we see actually Le Corbusier walking in that house, is, if I'm not mistaken, on a ramp. So it's, this these spaces were also portrayed in a film that Le Corbusier did with another filmmaker. Called Today's Architecture. We may watch that. And then you will also see how these roof gardens were meant to be like spaces of sports, hygiene, and health. Just like in the sketch that we have seen of the Strohan house, where I think there was a man doing like some kind of box and a woman watching him. So that kind of healthy lifestyle was also something that they aspire to. Okay, another view, this time from the interior of the living space towards the A1 here, and then you have these kind of permanent furniture on the outside with spaces for plants, and then we see the ramp better here, and very careful usage of color. Here you see a bit of color, but it's mostly white. Okay, so those were like the attitudes of Le Corbusier towards the metropolis, the city, and to the rural areas. If you are in a area outside the city, if you are in the nature, so the attitude of him in creating the spaces, architectures would change. In addition to that, of course, we have talked about we have talked about how mass production was important, but of course, mass production was important not only for Le Corbusier, for the Bauhaus, for the German architects that we have seen. I mean, we haven't seen examples of that, but the standardization, rationalization, the development of types, prototypes, typologies, structural typologies. Those were very much, of course, factors that were very much affecting the development of modern architecture. Okay, if you are building, designing houses, villas to well-off people, Le Corbusier could come up with these two earlier examples that we have seen. But what happens when you are actually designing a whole residential complex, a unité d'habitation, a habitation unit, a residential unit? And this is the famous unité d'habitation that was built in Marseille. But of course, it was a prototype. Both the units that are tucked into the general structure of the of the block, as we will see, they are types. Of course, they are kind of like, strand house. It's like a basic minimal unit repeating, in a certain number in a larger structure. But of course, also that structure itself is supposed to be repeating, and we will see this in Corbusier's, city plans. And here, unité d'habitation as a residential block, conceived as a city in itself with all these different, functions. It is not only a residential unit's totality, but it had like a laundry. I mean, the certain interior corridors were conceived as streets. It had a kindergarten. So it had all these social public spaces a city would have, or a neighborhood would have. So it was conceived as a self-sufficient, unit in itself, a self-sufficient block in itself. In terms of the architectural language, this has come, of course, later. It's the 1940s now, and the new type of aesthetics is emerging based on reinforced concrete, but about using reinforced concrete as naked. I mean, earlier those aesthetic facades that we have seen in Le Corbusier, in Loos, they were quite new and shocking. But they eventually took the usage of reinforced concrete to another level by revealing the material itself completely, which has come to be known as brutalism. It's this naked architecture, naked concrete architecture, which our building, faculty building, is a good example as well. So it is in that architectural language, in that architectural material, which kind of becomes create its own again. It becomes like an aesthetics. Okay, I mean, we have been talking about machine aesthetics. We have been talking about engineers aesthetics for earlier times. Now we are talking about an aesthetics created with rough textures of reinforced concrete, which is also a very plastic material that you can create, like canopies like this. Now, I mean, we have examples on our campus as well. You can create these sculpturesque forms with as you can pour it, and if you can, as you can shape it, it becomes this sculpturesque thing. Remember, for instance, Otto Wagner's details, like the functional ornament, I could say, you could say, those functional utilitarian elements becoming like, aesthetic elements, becoming sculpturesque. We have seen here again, a different type of kind of aesthetics has been created. And here we will talk about them at length later, but just remember the idea of raising the building above the ground on pilotis. And here we see these really huge columns that carry the self-sufficient residential block. Here we see better a kind of a elevation section, and all these different functions. For instance, it shows the pilotis, the columns, and then these are staircases. Here there are all the services, then interior streets. Then they had a gym. They had a theater place. Then and Brahms, and then on the roof terrace there was a part apparently for children. So all these different functions, different purposes were actually accommodated by one block itself. And here we see the structural, the structural logic of it. So there is a structure that holds all these, modules, units, this, 2-floor high units that are tucked to the general frame. It's kind of a plug-in city. We will see that example much later in the 1960s of Archigram's famous plug-in city, where you would plug your living cell to the general assemblage of the city. That was a utopian project. Here, of course, it is much more realistic and realizable project of these different units, types, prototypes, coming together in a larger structure and constituting the block. Here is the plans. You see, like 2-level with mezzanine levels as well. So they will come on top of each other. I think this this gives you the chance that this is one block. This is one unit, and the other one is this, and then you have this mezzanine part as well. So it overlaps. And then, of course, the small balconies behind, sunbreakers. We see the, the pilotis quite well now. It's like really humongous. So it also here kind of creates a labyrinthine space, a very shady labyrinthine space. And again, the usage of color is very, like very controlled. I mean, you have basically the color of concrete, gray, very textured, very ugly, in a way, rough. Then you have like, like small patches of color. Here it's again the facade. Here, this is the service area. Okay, the other side and the entrance. I mean, that I have talked about. These kinds of forms, these kind of sculpturesque forms is, we will see that there are examples of that also on the, roof gardens. It creates this aesthetic objects. Here as well, I mean, the staircase, it's like these flamboyant spiral. It becomes an element in itself. And exactly, that is what I was talking about. I mean, this area here, like with the pool and then the chimney, it's kind of a Zen environment, but designed, and then looking to the hills, beyond. So we are in a natural, rural setting, and this block comes on top of that in the nature, but it does not really touch the nature. It doesn't, affect it. It just takes, some controlled nature on top of it. But then, from the roof garden and, from the residential units, from the block itself, you can see outside the nature itself. This is the surrounding, this is different than the surroundings of Maison La Roche, for instance. Now, the long, tall apartment buildings and urban context. There you go. This is it has a pool. I mean, again, this is apparently a pool for children, but the idea of like, the sun and, a healthy lifestyle, sports and, water, all those kinds of were part of the package back then. There you go. And the children in it. I mean, remember in the film as well, there was a scene where children were playing on the roof with, water. That time it was in a bucket with, with dogs and whatnot. So here, the healthy children playing in the sun with water, as opposed to those dark places that we have seen at the beginning of the film, New Dwelling, darks, without really any light, air, nature. And then remember, we have seen an infant, a baby playing in the sun, and these ideas of creating healthy environments for human beings, for children, they were, they clung to that, architects all the time. Here, it's like, it's the roof garden again. I think this is this might be the kindergarten, if I am not mistaken, with the, pool here. So, but I urge you to, if you haven't already seen it, there is a kind of a residential block on Cinnah Caddesi, Cinnah 19, where Mimarlar Derneği is. It has a pool under, it is a roof garden. It is raised on piloti, and it's a wonderful block, and it has a pool on. It's not in good shape now, but it has all that too. It has a roof garden, so you can experience that if you go there. Again, here the chimney as well becomes this, this sculpture, this aesthetic object. Look at all the, the hills and the surroundings. Here again, another view. Yeah, this is what I was talking about, like these inner streets. They were seen as like kind of streets, not corridors, but more like, public spaces, inner streets, corners like this with the famous, modular man of Le Corbusier. Here is the gymnasium. Here's the gym. You see, it's so it provides all these different functions, and apparently it also has a restaurant now that you can go and apparently you actually also can stay there. It's kind of partly perhaps it operates like a hotel now. Not that we can go this time, but it also has a restaurant. Okay, I'm showing you the piloti up close. Like really humongous. Look at this. But it is like really huge, gross, and it's like robust. An earlier photograph, but people are using it. It's like I think these are perhaps children. More views looking to the to the balconies. Again, one of the inner streets, and the glazed facade of one of the units, like 2-story high facade looking towards the balcony. Okay, so up to now we were in France with Le Corbusier, and now we are moving to a new continent, and as you see, a very different kind of architecture. Although, of course, I'm sure you all recognize it immediately when you saw the image. So we are talking about Frank Lloyd Wright, another very well-known, iconic modern architect, this time from the US. And this is an earlier example from 1909, Roby House, which is in Chicago. Here again, I mean, we have been talking about the issue of mobility, circulation, and lightness, and raising the building, raising the architecture above the ground, and taking the nature above on the roof and building these blocks and whatnot. So it's like the idea was to have these lightweight or upward moving architecture. As opposed to that, here we have a very grounded architecture. It's like it is on the ground. It is it comes out of the ground. It comes out of the soil. It's part of the this space, this place itself. And that is, of course, very much supported. That sense is very much supported with all these very horizontal lines that you see. It's like it's completely part of the ground there. It's but again, as in the other examples, earlier example, we see the possibilities of new technology, like huge cantilevered roofs. Here you see that here as well. I mean, you can do this. No, this must be a kind of a composite structure. Partially using also, like reinforced concrete and slab technology in order to be able to do this. But if you look at the, behind, see, this is like in the surrounding, the architecture of the time were more like this, like pitch roof, more conventional architecture, as opposed to that. This is much earlier than, of course, Le Corbusier's villas, and it's even early, a little bit earlier than Loos's buildings as well. The thing is, although Frank Lloyd Wright is seen as a modern architect, of course, in terms of creating spaces that flowing spaces, free flowing spaces, and also in the later times, like this very new type of spaces that he creates. And the one thing that he doesn't very much like is to use concrete as concrete. He kind of likes these, earthy colors, earthy appearance of brick. And brick is not, of course, a very modern material, but he uses that. But it is still, in terms of the forms, in terms of the spaces, it is a very modern, take on architecture, with perhaps a little bit more conventional material. When he used concrete in later examples, in the Kaufmann house, in the Falling Water house that we will see, for instance, he painted it. So he didn't like to use it like as rough as in the case of brutalism of Le Corbusier that we have just seen. So we have this architecture, which is kind of a total work of art. He would, Frank Lloyd Wright would design, the furniture, and also the interior you would see is still kind of clinging on to some kind of not embellishment, but still, the usage of like wood, and it's like it looks like a handcrafted interior. So he's as in the case of Art Nouveau, he's after creating a total environment, an organic whole, a complete whole, which is also part of the place, of the ground that it is based on. Well, this is the context. It's like really, it's a suburban area in Chicago. It's very much, it's very green, and the building is almost like kind of, lost among the trees. Here we see the plan. Here, this is the ground floor, and then this is the first floor. Well, the thing is, you enter from the ground floor, and then you, I think this is the staircase that you take in order to go upstairs, and then you enter from this small area. Then when you come to the first floor through this staircase, then you are in this like, light-filled, spacious, modern interior. Think about the hall, the main banking hall of Postal Savings Bank. It's like this light-filled, humongous space. So it's like from the narrow, dark, entrance on the ground, you are coming to this modern environment. Okay, I think we will be able to see that in the coming images better. Here, perhaps it's a better view in terms of because of the lack of the plants. So you can see this huge cantilever here as well, all kind of pressing down, and then the windows, they are not like the the horizontal windows of Le Corbusier that I talked about, but here we have like kind of elongated, like circular or straight windows, kind of conventional windows, but like many of them. And then also the thing is, they are stained glass, so they don't really need curtains. That means that it's not really for looking out either, but they take light in, and it is like so many of them, one after another. So this is a different take on window than the case of Mies, where you have like huge glazed surfaces, or Le Corbusier, where you have horizontal window. Okay, well, here we can see better. You see the material, the windows, and the whole, elongated horizontality. Another better view, and this is this is how you enter. You enter from here, like kind of not again, not a very accentuated entrance. Here, the entrance court. I think I have already shown you that. Here, after that, cramped entrance, and then you climb the staircase that we have seen in the plan. Then you are here in the main living area with the windows with glazed stained glass on them. And then look at this. I mean, this is what I was talking about when I said total environment. So use of, again, traditional material like wood, as in the case of brick outside, and inside there is the use of wood. And it is, it's an embellished environment. It creates a whole total environment. And then of course also, like, look at light features. They are, it's the whole thing, light features and furniture, tables, chairs, and couches. They are all designed. Look at it. So I'm not sure about these things. These are, I think, like put later. I'm not sure if they are part of it, part of the design. But of course, this part, like the roof, the ceiling. I mean, not the roof. The ceiling and the lights and the windows, they are all designed by the architect as well. And then, this is the sitting living area, and at the back, the dining area. So you see, but in terms of the space, it is like, this is a separating wall with the, with the fireplace. But apart from that, this is a, kind of a modern interior with flowing spaces. Okay. This is the other side with the table, dining table, and designed by Frank Lloyd Wright as well. You see, the doors and all these things are part of the total design here. The wooden material and the staircase. This time from the ground level. Look at this stained glass on the windows. These were all, all these details were actually thought, designed by the architect. So it is like kind of a jewel, like handcrafted, jewel-esque environment. And you remember we have talked about, in relation to the Bauhaus, the idea of combining craft tradition with industrial techniques. And here we have something in between. Some of these things probably were, handcrafted, and some of them were machine produced. So the turn of the century is a period that was in between in terms of, industrial and hand production. From the outside, I have a couple of more views. From earlier photographs, the entrance, and then these are, we have seen this, but these are earlier photographs of the living area, and then the dining area with the table and the chairs designed by Frank Lloyd Wright. Okay, that was an early example with, still toying with some kind of craft, some kind of interior embellishment with more traditional material like wood, and then creating a total environment with these materials. But of course, later, this is the Kaufmann, well, the real name is actually the Kaufmann House, but it has come to be known as Fallingwater House. This is 1913, so this is later. And here we see something more in terms of simplification. We see something more simplified, more quote unquote, more modern, no embellishment, still some usage of stone, like more traditional material here at some parts, as in the case of the brick parts in Roby House. But of course, this is a reinforced concrete house that uses those potentialities to extreme. And look at the extreme cantilevers here, that all these different different surfaces of cantilevers, they are intersecting and coming on top of each other. And here it is a very good example of that idea of being part of the ground, being part of the nature that we have talked about earlier. And this is a house literally built on top of a waterfall. And this is like, you know, it's part of the nature, although it has, of course, this humongous, you know, reinforced concrete masses, but it is still, you know, part of the nature here. And apparently I have never been there, unfortunately, but apparently from the inside you could hear the sound of the water. The Kaufman family used to come here. They say, well, that is the story. They used to come here, you know, for picnics, and they really loved the spot. So they wanted to, you know, have a house here on top of the waterfall. But in terms of also, you know, horizontality and like kind of pressing down on the ground, I think it has the same tendency, the same appearance with the Robiha. So it is a very horizontal mass or group of masses. Here we can see better the different materials. Like this is like stone clad. Then we have you know, concrete, but then the concrete is colored. No, it is it's painted. It is not left as rough and textured as in Unité d'Habitation that we have seen. Okay. Well, now we can understand the surrounding. This is like in the middle of nature. So it is really kind of, you know, becoming part of the nature. It's opening itself through several levels of terraces to the nature. More than Roby House, and Roby House is kind of suburban area. Still, it has, you know, other houses, you know, in the surroundings. Here, it is more like a kind of a more natural environment. Look at this. So it is actually part of those rocks and the waterfall. And look at these different materials that come together here. And the interior is really spacious, huge interior with stone, you know, floors. Again, looking towards the you know, towards the nature, but it is not exactly like the Mises glazed window, like huge glass boxes. Here we have more like an elongated, huge windows, but very, very, of course, huge and also light filled and spacious. These different types of spaces that it creates, as in the case of Le Corbusier, Villa Savoy that we have seen. Okay, I'm showing different views from the outside, and then the okay, the section. Here it's like, you know, jutting out towards the waterfall here, and then the plan. Very simple in a way, like okay, one more view, I think, then we are, yeah. So this is, in terms of the material, although there are, of course, changes, but in terms of horizontality being merged with, you know, with the ground, with the surrounding, with the nature outside, and then perhaps a kind of a very careful usage of new material as opposed to, you know, conventional materials, and huge cantilevers, flat surfaces, flat, you know, jutting parts. In terms of those, Robbie House and the Kaufman House, you know, they have similarities. Okay, if we leave the nature, suburbia behind, and if we go to the Big Apple, to New York City, and to do what? To build a museum there in a very you know, dense, most urban, probably the most urban context that you might be able to find in the US. In New York, if you build a museum there, what form does it take? And how does that differ than the other buildings that we have seen in the suburban and rural pastoral settings? Here, okay, we are in New York, just, I think we are kind of like in Central Park, looking towards the famous Guggenheim Museum. And we have, like, look at the other buildings, you know, around. And we have something like, it looks as if it is from the, you know, outer space. So it's like kind of a spaceship, something completely kind of alien to the environment. Of course, now it's very iconic. It's a landmark. So we are very much used to this, you know, appearance of it. We are very accustomed to it. But back then, when it was built, and also still, you know, in terms of the context, it is so different. So it's like, you know, it is very basic idea of a, you know, kind of a circular form, like, you know, this kind of spiraling form. He takes that and he adds, like, you know, something to it at the end. And this was actually this was built later. It was originally part of Frank Lloyd Wright's plan, but it wasn't built. It was built later because this wasn't enough anymore. So these, you know, very basic forms, the main common point of them is they are, you know, very introverted. You know, they are not really opening outside to the city. Although this is not, of course, a residential context, but still they are not, it is not open to the outside, which is kind of makes sense because it is also a museum. As a museum, it requires controlled light. You know, you cannot just make huge glazed surfaces for a museum. So it is, you know, it has a functional side to its appearance, but it is also a kind of a choice by the architect towards the metropolis, towards the city within which he is building. And this is a, you know, more recent image of it. You know, it's like really, it doesn't really, you know, make much contact with the city. You have just these slits here, and some windows are kind of, you know, you can feel them here as well. But the general appearance is such a introvert building. This is from the other side, and look at the buildings surrounding it. It's like, you know, the only gesture that it does towards the city is this, you know, here, this bulging side, and here, it's kind of creating space, underneath, so that you can actually hear. It is very nice. It establishes some relation with the city. And I'm showing you the plan. This is the main gallery, and this is the part that is jutting out that we have seen with the windows. And this is it, actually. This is the whole thing. And then, of course, there's a huge skylight here that takes light. This is a very basic, very simple idea. And I'm showing you the skylight and then all the, the galleries here around the spiral here. Of course, so it's like this basic. Well, now what you have is the ramp of Le Corbusier is taken, and it is like it has become like a spiral that goes on, and this is the part that we have already talked about in terms of having these kind of slit-like openings. This is from the museum looking towards the Central Park, and the kind of the canopy that was created, thanks to, again, the possibilities of concrete here before that part at the back was built. So we can see it's like kind of a spaceship put, in this very orthogonal, these buildings with very orthogonal geometries surrounding it. Earlier photograph again. So view from the interior and then the ramp, of course. And a view from the first floor of the ramps, I think. It's like, it's again, it's kind of like we have talked about movement and mobility and film-like and temporality in architecture in relation to Le Corbusier's architecture. Here, it's like literally, it's like, the temporality is part of this this building as well. Look at it. Some people are going up and some going down, and then light here. And from the ground level as well, here you see the outside and the park there. Okay, I think we have covered quite a bit. What I will do, perhaps, I will stop sharing this and talk a little bit about, just a second, not too much, but perhaps okay, just to give you an idea about what I will be doing next week. Let me okay, I could do that. I'm glad. So can I, just a second, no, go back. Okay, we were in the US looking at examples by Frank Lloyd Wright. Next week, we will go back to Italy, to the 1930s, to look at a very interesting case, Italian rational architecture this time. I mean, we have been to Italy in terms of what was going on in the 19th century, in terms of futurism. We have seen those, but now we will look at like a little bit later modern architecture that had an interesting angle to it, because modern architecture, as I have already said a couple of times, it was very much generally also was a social project. Most of the people were like, kind of revolutionaries, and they wanted to change architecture, but they wanted to also change lives and bring these, utopian worlds to people. But in the case of Italy, the examples that we will see in terms of architectural language, they are very sophisticated and modern, but they were built as a kind of for the fascist regime there. So in that sense, they didn't have that social side, social concerns to it. It was more like an ideological state, undertaking, or ideological products that were presented to the state. So we will look at those examples in order to be able to also start to talk about the critique of early modernisms that started to emerge in the in the 1950s, particularly in Italy, where not a very canonic modern architecture with all its tenets could take a hold. They started to talk, the idea of continuity and history in the 50s. Before that, I mean, generally, modern architecture was very much, at different degrees, of course, very much an attempt to break away from the past. Here they were also started to discuss the possibility of continuity and the possibility of historical references. So we will start to talk about that, and that kind of criticism will develop within modern architecture in different ways, and we will see that up until the 1980s, where they actually there was a kind of in terms of architectural language, at least, there was a paradigm shift, and then what we have come to see as postmodernism in architecture emerged. But before that, all the attempts of critique towards modern architecture were done in a larger modernist paradigm in different ways. So we will see that. Okay, so I will start with that next week. Just I'm showing you the first example that we will talk about, which is the very famous Casa del Fascio that is in Como by Giuseppe Terrani. This was the fascist party building, in Como. And it is a very sophisticated, modern piece of architecture with also references to historical architectural elements. So we will start with that next week. I think probably I will stop here. I don't know how long I took. Probably I took too long today, but it was just so so exciting in a way, for me. So I just couldn't stop. Okay, I will leave you with these images of Casa del Fascio in the beautiful town of Como in Lombardia in northern Italy, and then we will pick up from here next week and talk about this kind of unusual example of modern rational architecture in Como in Italy. All right, well, I will see you then next week.